A man once sat across from me, his eyes lowered toward his hands as though they were holding answers he couldn't quite reach. He quietly said, "Nothing is wrong, but something still feels off." He struggled to put it into words. There was no clear betrayal, no heated argument, no single moment he could point to. It was something far more subtle than that, a shift he could sense but not prove. The way she looked at him had changed. Her touch didn't carry the same warmth anymore. Their conversations became shorter, lighter, almost cautious in tone. Yet she was still there, still texting, still smiling, still saying, "I love you." But deep inside, something kept telling him that he was no longer seeing the full reality. If you've ever felt that quiet inner discomfort without explanation, then you already understand what many people tend to ignore. This isn't about jumping to conclusions or blaming someone without reason. It is not about assuming the worst in people or creating stories out of fear. It is about awareness. Because when emotional or physical boundaries are crossed in secrecy, they rarely present themselves in obvious ways. Instead, they reveal themselves through small changes in behavior, subtle emotional distance, and inconsistencies that don't seem like proof on their own, but collectively feel different. Most men are conditioned to ignore these signals. They are told to stay relaxed, not ask too many questions, and avoid appearing insecure. But awareness is not insecurity. Awareness is protection. It is what stops you from pouring your time, energy, and trust into something that may no longer be what you believe it is. One of the first changes that often appears, and the one most men fail to notice, is a shift in emotional consistency. It doesn't show up as clear distance, but as unpredictability. One moment she feels warm and engaged, and the next she seems mentally somewhere else. You can still talk to her, but something feels different, like she's present physically, but not fully emotionally connected. She still replies, still checks in, still keeps the relationship running on the surface. Yet the deeper emotional presence starts to fade. You notice it in small moments, when you share something meaningful and her response feels delayed, light, or disconnected. Even silence between you starts to feel heavier. Eye contact doesn't hold the same softness. When someone's emotional energy becomes divided elsewhere, their full presence becomes harder to maintain, even unintentionally. What you begin to receive is no longer full attention, but fragments of it. Along with that, she may become slightly more guarded in subtle ways that are easy to miss at first. Not defensive or closed off completely, but more selective in how she speaks. Certain topics are avoided, conversations are redirected, and emotional depth starts to feel carefully managed. It can seem like she is still talking to you, but no longer fully opening up in the same natural way. She is controlling what she shares without making it obvious. Slowly, the emotional closeness that once felt effortless begins to thin out. It is not always because she has stopped caring entirely, but because a part of her attention and focus is no longer fully invested in the same place it used to be. Another shift shows up in how she begins to respond to you on a behavioral level. At first, it seems minor. She becomes a little more critical, though not openly harsh. Small habits that never mattered before suddenly start to irritate her. Things she used to overlook or laugh about now seem to bother her more easily. You may find yourself confused because you haven't really changed, yet her perception of you feels different. When someone starts forming a new emotional source of validation or excitement elsewhere, it can quietly influence how they view their current relationship. This often appears as shorter patience, quicker irritation, and a sharper tone. Conversations that once flowed naturally now feel like they require caution. You start thinking before speaking, adjusting yourself slowly just to keep things from turning tense. There is another shift that happens even more quietly, yet it often says the most. It appears in changes around privacy, routine, and small habits that no longer feel the same as before. Of course, everyone is entitled to personal space, but this is about behavior that suddenly feels different from what used to be normal in your relationship. For instance, she may have once been relaxed with her phone, leaving it anywhere without a second thought. Now it is always kept face down, always kept close, as if it is no longer just a casual object. Notifications seem more controlled. Replies come quickly at times, but in ways that feel timed or selective. At the same time, her routine may begin to shift without clear explanation. New busy hours appear, availability changes, and when you ask simple questions, the answers start to feel slightly vague or prepared. It creates a sense that access to her world is no longer as open as it once was, and you slowly start to feel like you are on the outside looking in. Then there is one final shift that tends to affect people the most because it is felt more than it is seen: the gradual disappearance of effort. Not the big gestures or planned moments, but the small emotional investments that keep a relationship alive. The natural way she once remembered little things you said, checked in on you without being prompted, or showed care in small, thoughtful ways begins to fade. Over time, she stops going out of her way in the same manner. Conversations become more practical than emotional. Affection feels less natural and more like a response than an expression. When someone's attention and emotional energy move elsewhere, their investment in the current connection often weakens with it. And when that shift is consistent, it is no longer random. It reflects a change in where their emotional presence is being directed, even if nothing is openly said. What remains is often the absence of effort, without any clear explanation for why it disappeared. And that creates a quiet but heavy realization: feeling alone while still being in a relationship. None of these signs on their own can confirm anything with certainty. But when emotional inconsistency, growing criticism, guarded behavior, reduced openness, and fading effort begin to appear together, they form a pattern. And patterns often reveal truths that words are not used to express. The point is not to accuse or create conflict, but to see things clearly instead of constantly explaining them away just to maintain peace. Because disconnection rarely happens all at once. It builds slowly through the small changes you notice but choose to ignore. You don't lose someone in a single moment. You lose them gradually, through the subtle shifts you kept convincing yourself not to question. And if there is a part of you already sensing that something has changed, don't dismiss it, understand it. Because real clarity doesn't come from fear or suspicion, but from the willingness to acknowledge what is quietly unfolding in front of you. Emotional change in relationships is rarely obvious at the beginning. It doesn't usually appear through a single clear event or a direct statement. Instead, it develops gradually through small shifts that seem minor when viewed alone, but start to form a pattern over time. Because nothing is openly confirmed, the mind tries to explain it in ways that feel less uncomfortable. People often tell themselves that things are temporary, that stress is the cause, or that they are reading too much into normal behavior. This self-explanation can delay clarity, especially when the relationship still looks intact from the outside. In many cases, the structure of the relationship remains unchanged while the emotional experience inside it begins to shift. Conversations still happen, messages are still exchanged, and daily interaction continues, but the sense of depth within those moments starts to fade. It can feel like someone is present in routine, but less present in connection. The difference is subtle, yet it becomes noticeable in how effort is received. Responses may still come, but with less curiosity, less engagement, or less emotional return. Over time, that creates a feeling of distance, even without physical separation. People often respond to this by adjusting themselves instead of addressing the shift directly. They become more cautious with what they say, more aware of timing, and more sensitive to reactions. Instead of expressing discomfort openly, they start managing the interaction to avoid tension. This slowly changes the dynamic because one person begins to adapt while the other continues operating at a different emotional level. That imbalance can create internal fatigue, as emotional honesty gets replaced with emotional monitoring. Attention also plays a major role in how connection feels. It is not just about time spent together, but about where mental and emotional focus is directed. When focus is fully within the relationship, even simple moments feel connected. When that focus starts to drift elsewhere, even unintentionally, presence becomes inconsistent. A person can still be physically available but emotionally less engaged, and that difference is often felt before it is understood. Over time, consistency becomes the clearest indicator. Stable relationships tend to feel steady in tone, communication, and emotional return. When consistency starts breaking into patterns of warmth followed by distance, engagement followed by withdrawal, clarity becomes harder to maintain. The uncertainty itself becomes part of the experience, and that uncertainty is usually what creates the strongest internal discomfort. Ignoring these shifts does not make them disappear. It usually leads to deeper confusion because the gap between what is visible and what is felt continues to grow. The longer that gap stays unspoken, the more difficult it becomes to understand where things actually stand.